Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Phoebe Bowe. My Keystone project was done under the direction of Dr. Mina Seid-Vogel in the Mass Comm Research Department, my project focused on opinion disclosure behavior and the spiral of silence. I was most interested in determining whether there's a difference in the way individuals disclose opinions in online and offline settings. To give you some background and some context, I became interested in studying opinion disclosure behavior after learning about the spiral of silence theory, which essentially says that individuals are less willing to disclose their opinions or express their opinions when they perceive that the majority opinion does not align with their own because of a fear of social isolation from expressing an unpopular view. This can lead to populations and groups in a society whose opinions and interests are not represented in that larger society. And to give you a demonstration, a simple example of what the spiral of silence might feel like for an individual, imagine that you are the most enthusiastic Sanders supporter at the Democratic National Convention or a Trump rally. You would probably be a little bit hesitant to express your views too loudly, and that's an example of the spiral of silence on an individual level. The larger context of my project and sort of what's the significance of studying the spiral of silence is it's really focused on the way ideas and opinions spread in a society. The free expression of ideas and information is essential for the democratic process, and I think it's important to understand how the mode of communication that we use affects the way we're willing to disclose opinions. The Pew Research Center has found that the majority of American adults use the internet and social media, so they're using this as a forum to either gather information or express ideas. And research on the spiral of silence and opinion disclosure behavior has really found conflicting results of what the effect is on the way they're willing to express their opinions. Some research has found that people are more willing to disclose online, some say it's less willing to disclose online, others say it's about even, and this uncertainty in the field really drew my interest further to do my project in this area. So after doing some extensive research on other opinion disclosure and spiral of silence, in research I narrowed it down to 3 independent variables to use for my study to examine their effect on opinion disclosure: the mode of communication, in this case online and offline, the level of controversy surrounding the topic, so non-controversial or highly controversial, as the level of controversy has been found to influence individuals' willingness to disclose opinions or the way they disclose opinions, and the level of ego involvement with the topic, which has also been found to influence the way people disclose their opinions. And ego involvement can simply be defined as how interested or how salient a topic is for a person. And to give you an example, an individual who grew up their entire life watching football every Sunday during the season would be highly ego involved with an event like the Super Bowl, whereas someone who has never watched a game of American football in their life would have very low ego involvement with an event like the Super Bowl. And my dependent variable that I was using was an actual opinion disclosure in the past month. So how often an individual disclosed an opinion on the topic that I gave them in the past month was what I was measuring the effect of these 3 variables on. And I addressed these 2 research questions and hypotheses in the course of my study. I won't read them all word for word, but essentially I want to see, does mode of communication affect individuals' opinion disclosure behavior? And I hypothesized that the less controversial a topic was, the more individuals would disclose on it, and that individuals, when they were more highly ego involved, would disclose more often than an individual who was less ego involved. And I wanted to determine, is opinion disclosure a function of my 3 independent variables: mode of communication, controversy, and level of ego involvement. So to study my research questions and to find an answer to all of this, I conducted an online experiment. I used I had a sample of 519 students who participated. I used a convenient sample gathering respondents from Facebook and online. I used a fairly typical test used in spiral of silence and opinion disclosure research, in which an individual was placed in a hypothetical situation and then asked a series of questions to determine their level of opinion disclosure in that context. So each of my respondents was placed in one of 4 discrete conditions in which they were posed with either an online or an offline communication setting and a non-controversial or controversial topic. In this case, the online setting was a Facebook group of whose members were strangers to the individual. The offline setting was a coffee shop with a group of strangers. The non-controversial topic was the topic of favorite season, and the controversial topic was the topic of abolishment of the death penalty. So each of the respondents was posed with one of these situations and asked a series of questions to measure their level of ego involvement with that topic, as well as their level of disclosure. And the objective was to determine whether opinion disclosures differs across these 4 conditions. So I then analyzed the results from this study using univariate analysis of variance, and I'm going to discuss in this next part some of my key findings and interactions. I won't be going through all of it because we'd be here all afternoon. So the first effect that I uncovered with my data was that the mode of communication does have a significant effect on opinion disclosure. Individuals disclose significantly more often in the offline setting than the online setting, and this at first glance leads one to assume or think that the spiral of silence has a stronger silencing effect in online settings than offline settings. However, the future interactions I'll talk about in just a few slides shows that that might not really be the case and that this main interaction could be misleading. Next, I found that support for my second hypothesis that individuals disclose significantly more often on the non-controversial topic than on the controversial topic, giving support for my second hypothesis. For my first hypothesis. I did not find support for my second hypothesis, and that individuals with low ego involvement and high ego involvement actually disclosed fairly similarly, whether they had high or low ego involvement with the topic, which is interesting. So now I'm going to talk about how the three independent variables together and how they affect opinion disclosure. To make it a little bit simpler to comprehend and make it a little bit more bite-sized, I'm first going to talk about the group of individuals who had low ego involvement with the topic and how it affected their opinion disclosure, and I'll then talk about the group of individuals who had high ego involvement and how it affected their opinion disclosure behavior. So here in this graph, you can see the mean opinion disclosure that individuals reported when they had low ego involvement with the topic. The green line were individuals who were in the online setting. The blue line were individuals who were in the offline setting. And across the x-axis, you have level of controversy. And you can see here that individuals disclose significantly more often on the non-controversial topic than on the controversial topic in both modes of communication. You can see, however, that for individuals discussing the non-controversial topic, the mode of communication significantly affected who disclosed more often. The individuals in the online setting disclosed more often than individuals in the offline setting when they had low ego involvement with the topic and were discussing a non-controversial topic. However, for the high controversial topic, the mode of communication didn't matter, and regardless of whether the individual was in the online or the offline setting, they disclosed opinions pretty similarly. There's no significant difference in how often they disclose their opinions. This would led me to think that the spiral of silence operates pretty similarly in online and offline settings for a highly controversial topic, that individuals disclose similarly in those two settings. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about individuals who have high ego involvement with the topic. So these are individuals, the topic is more salient for them, they're more involved with what they're discussing. And you can see that individuals in the online setting, when they had high ego involvement, there's actually no difference between how they disclose low or high controversial, or disclose their opinions on a low or high controversial topic. So the level of controversy doesn't matter online. You're either going to disclose or not disclose. That doesn't make it or break it for you. You see, however, in the offline setting, the high level of controversy significantly decreased the amount of how often you disclose your opinions, suggesting that the online mode of communication might open up some more room for individuals to disclose. They will be less likely to disclose offline, but you don't have the same effect online. You can see again for the low controversial topic, there's a significant difference in the way individuals disclose between the two modes of communication, but we actually have the opposite effect. Here, individuals in the offline settings are the ones to disclose significantly more often on the non-controversial topic, and individuals with a low or on the online setting disclose significantly less often on the non-controversial topic. But again, we have the same interaction for high controversial topic. Individuals in the online or offline setting disclose pretty similarly, again supporting this assumption that the mode of communication doesn't really matter when discussing a controversial topic, and that individuals in online and offline settings treat this opinion disclosure, the way they disclose opinions, fairly similarly between the two modes of communication. So what does all of this mean at the end of the day, that you've gone through my lovely slides? Addressing one of my original research questions, I have found that the mode of communication, level of controversy, and level of ego involvement does affect opinion disclosure behavior. The way we disclose opinions is a function of these three variables. And the interactions that I've just shown on the previous slide show that the spiral of silence operates fairly similarly in online and offline settings, particularly when individuals are discussing a controversial topic. And this suggests that the internet can serve as an alternative forum for the discussion of controversial topics, and that it is a free and open market for communication that we sort of assumed that it is and would love to think that it is, but we never really had empirical data to necessarily prove beyond a doubt. So I've sort of found this as comforting and encouraging that there is this level of communication online. I hope that future research will continue to be critical of the way we disclose opinions and the modes of communication that we're using, and continue to build on these theories. Thank you. And I have a couple minutes for questions, so yes, Celeste.
I know you're going to go off and start your PR career soon. How do you think your experiences conducting this research and then your findings will help inform your future career in PR and in the workforce?
That's a great question. I can tell you already it is the fact that I've pursued this topic has been very impressive for potential employers during interviews. They really want to know, really would love to have an entry-level employee who has a published paper, so I'll see if I can deliver on that for them. I think that the field that I'm in, public relations communications, the inquisitory nature that we have toward how we communicate as individuals isn't something that everyone in a lot of fields really focuses on. And most people think, oh, it's the internet, you can tweet whatever you want. But I think as a public relations professional, I'm interested in how people are actually interacting on those forums, and I hope that can inform the way I as a professional can communicate for my clients or organization or whatever, how I interact with their audiences across different modes, whether I'm doing an in-person setting in a coffee shop full of strangers or an online Facebook group full of strangers. Yeah. Yeah, Susie.
So based on what you've found through your research, how do you think, or how do you see this fitting with the current sort of, I think, political situation we see right now, where these sort of very small minority opinions are very publicized by the media? So, for example, Donald Trump, sort of that very small contingent of the political party rising to prominence. How do you think that fits in with the idea of the spiral of silence, where suddenly these minority opinions, instead of being kind of drowned out and held in, are gaining more and more momentum?
Sure. So there are actually a lot of dimensions to the spiral of silence in different populations. For the majority of the population, the spiral of silence behaves the way that I've explained. But there are groups of people who feel so strongly about an opinion that no matter what they perceive the opinion climate is like, or who they think will agree or disagree with them, they will voice those opinions regardless. So I think that those populations are definitely less inhibited during the political season, and the media loves the show, the dog and pony show of it all, and I think that encourages those populations to voice their opinions. I think that if everyone were voicing their opinions, though, that would be a more effective level of discourse in society. So I don't really know what the answer about them is, but I can tell you what the spiral of silence says. Any other questions, or are we out of time? Are we out of time? Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you.